The verse of the day is James 5:12, and it says, "But most of all, my brothers and sisters, never take an oath by heaven or earth or anything else. Just say a simple yes or no so that you will not sin and be condemned." This is one of those standalone verses in James that doesn't necessarily tie in with any specific theme other than the fact that James is just speaking truth. The whole book of James is him telling us a lot of straightforward truth so that we can learn how to keep going, build endurance, no matter how we feel, to be men and women who are all in for God, and to draw close to God, how to draw close to God, how to be men and women who practice what we preach, who live out what we believe, and our evidence is life of that. And this verse is one of the most convicting verses to me in my life, and something that God is always teaching me how to grow in, because how often do we say things that we don't mean, or don't follow through on our word, or we say maybe, or we say a bunch of things when God is always trying to tell us, let your yes be yes and your no be no. And there's a lot of lessons with this verse because it can teach us how to own our word. It can teach us how to be consistent with our word. It brings up fear of man, because if you want to say one thing but you don't because you fear man, it's highlighting where your yes is not yes and your no is not no. If you are constantly not communicating your yes to be yes when it should be, you're going to be breaking trust with yourself. And so this is also how you can fall into depression and have zero confidence, because your yeses and your nos are dependent on people. And God is trying to teach us how to make our yeses and our nos dependent on Him, on what He's doing in us. When you think about those times when you're like, I promise, I'm not lying, and you're like, you're trying to make it as if like there's more weight on your yes or the thing you have to say, that really just communicates that there might not be weight in other things that you say. And so it makes us look at ourselves. Are we being consistent in our communication? Do we have integrity with everything that we're saying? Because if we have to feel like we have to swear, I swear this is true, or add weight to something we're saying as if something else we said wasn't, then we're not being consistent. And maybe we're not being truthful in other ways. God is always trying to teach us how to be truthful, how to communicate truthfully. And so if our yes is always yes and our no is always no, we don't have to swear by anything. We don't have to add extra weight to anything we say, because we have integrity with everything that we say. One of my favorite verses that is basically reiterating today's verse is Matthew 5:37, and it says, "Just say a simple yes I will or no I won't. Anything beyond this is from the evil one." Just say a simple yes I will or no I won't. So why is that so hard for us sometimes? It's so hard for us sometimes because we get in our head. We want to people please. We fear man. We're not confident in our decisions. We're not confident in saying yes, because what if it's the wrong one? We have fear of failure. We have fear of saying the wrong thing or making the wrong choice. And so it's led by fear that causes us to not have our yes be yes or our no be no. And this is why it says anything beyond this is from the evil one, because he will use our thoughts and the fear and people pleasing to get us to be in and out, which causes stress, which causes inconsistency in character, which causes relationships to not be as sturdy because people aren't being men and women of their word. The enemy uses our decisions and what we agree to bring more trouble to our spirit, to cause us to have unrest. There have been so many times in my life where I've said yes to something and I've backed out because I didn't feel like it anymore. And then I had anxiety about backing out because, oh no, are they going to think I'm a flake? Anytime I haven't gone through with my word, it causes stress. It causes anxiety. It gets you to fear what people think. It gets you to fear, oh, can I not actually follow through on what I say? And then you feel stuck in your ability to make decisions because you're proving to yourself that you're not walking out your decisions. So we have to learn how to build trust in ourselves through our decision making and having our yes be yes and our no be no, because that's going to show ourselves that we follow through and that words aren't just words and that our life is following what we say. And that's a huge theme in the book of James, is our life is evidence of our faith. So if we're not following through, then our word isn't carrying as much weight. But if we are people who always follow through, or we walk out the no's in our life and we walk out the yeses in our life, then our life is evidence of how we communicate. This verse will also teach you how to not be led by your feelings, because when you agree to something, you may not feel like it in 2 days, but just because you don't feel like it doesn't mean God's not still calling you to go or to do it. And this is why being spirit-led is so important, and checking with God first. This is something I'm trying to learn, is before I say yes, before I make any decision, talking with God first, asking God, praying about it, and then making a decision. We're so quick to say yes and no based off of how we feel in the moment. But what is wisdom is going to God first to see, is this wisdom from you, Lord? And then you're going to make the decision out of your spirit. So if you don't feel like it in 2 days, you know that you need to push through and still go, because 1, you agreed and you want to be a man or a woman of your word, and 2, you consulted God about it. So you made this decision with Him, which means you want to be obedient to walk it out no matter how you feel. I come from a past of being a massive people pleaser, massive fear of man. And this verse helped rewire my brain. It helped build confidence back up in me, because I fell into depression many times because I wasn't a woman of my word. And I would say yes, yes, yes to everyone because I wanted everyone to not be disappointed, and I never wanted to hurt anyone's feelings, and I wanted everyone to feel good and for me to be approved of. And so I would say yes even though I didn't want to. And so if that is how you operate, God can't trust you to handle what He's put in your hands, because you're going to be swayed by the wind of who's in front of you. And so I was communicating things that I actually didn't want to say yes to, and I would go home and be like, oh, I wish I didn't say yes. I wish I didn't do that. And then I would have this conflict in my spirit, and then I would communicate to myself, gosh, I don't know how to honor what I want. I don't know how to walk this out. So my words didn't carry integrity, which made me feel stuck in my ability to communicate with people authentically. And then it caused me to isolate, and I didn't want to be around people because I would say things that I didn't mean. And then I realized I had to build back trust. If you are feeling depressed because you're backing out and your word isn't being honored, going back to the basics of let your yes be yes and your no be no. If someone asks you to go to lunch, don't say yes right away. Sit on it, pray on it. If you say yes and you don't feel like it in 2 days, persevere and go, and start to do it in little steps, and be someone who follows through, because that's going to actually affect the bigger decisions in your life, and the bigger yeses and the bigger no's in the future. You have to start small and build that trust in yourself that you are a man or a woman of your word, and honoring it and praying against fear of man. Lord, help me to be someone who doesn't fear man, but I only fear you. And if you're calling me to do something, I will do it no matter how I feel. And I will say it even if it's scary. And I will say no even if I'll disappoint them. And having that knowing that God's opinion matters more than man. That even if they reject me or get disappointed or whatever they feel, I'm going to stay true to what God's doing in me and what I believe to be true and right for me. It's so important to go to God for your yeses and your nos, because God's doing something different in all of us. Someone else's yes might be your no. And so we can't go to people for all of our decisions. We need to go to God and follow the Holy Spirit's leading. And by honoring what you believe God is saying is your yes in the little things is going to impact how you follow those in the bigger things down the line. Okay?